TRC EDC here, back again with another knife review. This is just a little quick comparison between the Benchmade Bailout, which is a new knife that I have, and the Benchmade Bugout, which is also a new knife that I have. So one of the things I want to point out right away is just in general, when you get these FRN handles, both of these have FRN handles, or Benchmade's version is called Grivery or Grivery. Either way, it's a fancy name for plastic. When you get any knife that has these types of handles, for some reason, I guess you get this gritty type of feel as the blade moves, and the action on them is kind of stiff. But then, you know, as you move them around, I sat here and played with this Bugout, for example, and I just went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth over and over again, and I would swing it just open and shut, and now it's got really good, smooth drop shut action. This one came just as stiff out of the box. I've been breaking it in a little bit. It's not quite there yet, so you can see that it won't freely drop when I engage the lock, but if I shake it a little bit, you know, it'll come out. You know, it doesn't really move around, so it's still somewhat stiff. That being said, it's not completely stiff. It's, as you can see, I'm able to swing it open and closed, and I think it'll eventually get to the point that this one's at. So that's just something to note when you get these. Don't be discouraged if you don't have action like this out of the box. It'll get there. Another thing to be aware of is the length on these. So if you line up the pivots, this is slightly longer than this, even without the pommel. But with the pommel, obviously, it's quite a bit longer. Another difference is the lanyard hole on this one. On the Bugout is right here. The pommel, I don't think was necessarily intended to be a lanyard hole, but I think they made the pommel have a hole in it like this so that it could be used either as a pommel or as a lanyard hole. And the other major difference here is going to be the shape of the handle at this end, at the front end, because on the Bugout, you have a little tiny finger guard over here, but you have none up top. Whereas on the Bailout, you have a finger guard on the bottom, which is much more pronounced, and one on top. Now, one of the things that I should let you know is I generally prefer larger knives, and I'm going to come out and tell you, between the Bugout and the Bailout, so far I find myself gravitating more toward the Bugout than the Bailout, and it's for one big reason. And it's not a reason I've seen really discussed a lot on other channels, but it's really it's the thumb ramp. So when I go on the Bugout, it's a very nice drop point blade. I can get a nice 4-finger grip on this, even with large gloved hands. The placement of the thumb is really nice on the spine. There's nothing stopping my finger from getting a nice grip on there. My pointer finger is very close to the blade over here. So even though I may not want to, with this limited finger guard here, may not want to use it for stabbing motions, it's just an excellent EDC grip here. Excellent. With the Bailout, so again, I get the nice 4-finger grip here, and there's some room to spare. But I can't put my thumb here because this digs into my thumb here. And if I put my thumb here, it really, whoops, knocked the camera a bit there. It really is backed up against my finger, against my hand. And this is an uncomfortable position. It is very much an uncomfortable position. I don't like that. This could have easily been corrected. They could take a cue from this knife, the Microtech Socom Elite. If you take a look at the Socom Elite, thumb ramp on this is a much sharper angle than the thumb ramp. I'm sorry, the thumb ramp on the Bailout is a much sharper angle than the thumb ramp on the Microtech Socom Elite. And what that allows you to do is still be somewhat close to the blade and not be so far backed up. Right here is where you'd be on the Bailout, but you have a little bit more room on the Socom Elite. Now, this is a completely different design because you have two sets of jimping here, one for draw cuts and one for push cuts. And that's one of the reasons I think that the Socom Elite doesn't have a thumb ramp that extends out to where the thumb stud is. But, you know, there's a specific reason for that on this knife. There's just no reason on this knife why my thumb has to be so backed up over here. Now, can I solve this pressure? Can I relieve the pressure on the thumb by moving my hand back? Yes, and it's still plenty of room over here when I do that. But now my pointer is much farther away from the blade, and I don't feel like I have as much control over the cut motion. And that I just don't like. So for that reason, I'm a little disappointed with the design of the handle, really, on the Bailout. I know many people have been complaining about the pommel. I honestly find that the pommel doesn't bother me at all. Some people were saying it's digging into their hand. I mean, I have a large hand and large gloved hand, and this is not a problem. Even when I slide back, not a problem, not a hot spot. So I don't know what they're talking about. Could be they just have massive hands. But in any event, that's something to be aware of. Another thing to be aware of is the blade on here. I talked about how this is a drop point. This is a Tonto edge, but you can see on here, if I can get it to focus, the Tonto edge on this it's a wide angle Tonto edge, which means there's no significant point here. So one of the things on a Tonto you can do is you can use it to draw cut the edge as sort of a secondary point. Here, it's not going to be so easy to do that. It's more like it's almost like a combination between Tonto and drop point. I'm not sure why they did that. Maybe someone knows, can leave a comment, tell me why. But it's an interesting choice. Now, one thing that does allow for is, I forgot which company it is, and you guys can also leave a comment with which company it is. I will pin the comment if somebody leaves a comment with the company. But so there is a company out there that will regrind this to a drop point blade like this one, so that it's not necessarily a Tonto at no extra charge if you order a Bailout. So it's something to be aware of. I know most people buy these knives to be just a light version of a primary, and I do use it that way sometimes, but I'm going to be honest that most of the time I find myself carrying this or this as a second knife, and in addition to whatever other knife I have. So I think the reason is this is so light you don't know it's on you. Same with this. And since it's so light you don't know it's on you, I still feel like I want to feel like there's a knife on me while also having one of these as well. These are especially, well, both of these, but especially this one, are a lot less threatening as well than some of my other knives. For example, this one, or even, we were just looking at the Socom Elite, this one. And definitely my newest addition, as far as threatening knives go. I just want to have a chance to show it off again. My Hinderer Nieves Balisong. Yes, that was shameless, but I'm enjoying it so far. So again, that's another reason to have these. One other thing to be aware of is the pocket clips. On the Bugout, now these are the same pocket clip, although with different coatings. But on the Bugout, you have the lanyard hole, and so the pocket clip is over to the left a little bit. On the Bailout, you have the lanyard hole, and so the pocket clip is off to the left a little bit. Oh, my mistake. There is no lanyard hole. So why is it off to the left? Well, I have no idea. Maybe one of you can tell me. The only explanation I can come up with as to why this pocket clip is located at the same spot as this pocket clip, despite this knife having no lanyard hole here, is that if you look at it from this dimension, it's centered here. That's the only thing I can come up with. It is still a little strange. I mean, if you look at this one, this is basically centered with the screw here, and this one is a little bit more to the left. In any event, maybe I'm seeing things, but something to point out nonetheless. Other than that, can't remember if I talked about the steel. I don't think I did, but 3V is the steel on this, S30V is the steel on this. Benchmade does a great job with the S30V treatment on pretty much everything it has S30V on. The 3V treatment has gotten a little bit of blowback from some other reviewers. I'll leave that to them because I'm not a steel expert, but it's been good for me so far. I don't have any complaints yet. If the edge retention starts to dull on this and I find that I'm having problems with the edge retention or the toughness or really any other aspect of the steel, I will do a follow-up or longer-term review of this and make sure that that is covered. So in any event, tell me what you think about the Bailout, especially if you have both the Bailout and the Bugout. I'd love to hear about it. Also tell me if you use either one of these as your main EDC. I know a lot of people are using this one or the blue version of this. So let me know in the comments, and go ahead and like and subscribe to the video. Thanks so much for watching.